Sure. Yeah, Courtney, if you could just real quick kind of recap a little bit to me what you thought of this past weekend with the tournament, and then give a little bit of a scouting report on who you got coming in.
Yeah, I was really pleased with how just this group continues to grow. I don't think that we started as well as we wanted this past weekend, but they continue to respond. And I think that we're finally like starting to feel like we're coming into our own a little bit. And it really felt like it carried over into practice this week. So we're excited to be home again at Bogle. We have three very good teams coming in that are going to be very challenging. And we're hoping for good weather to get a good crowd again. So um, it'll be exciting.
Now, could you give me a little bit of a scouting report, I guess, on just the teams that are coming in, what you know about them?
Yeah, we have South Dakota State tomorrow night. They have really great pitching that is similar to ours in the way that they really complement each other. And then they swing big. So they've always been a team that scores a lot of runs. And this team is no different. So they've seemed to have kind of been up and down through the course of their schedule so far. I think that's just it's early and it's I think that they're still trying to figure out who they are a little bit. So I imagine we'll get their best game this weekend. We have FAU, who we already played in Boca. Jordan Clark, who is from Arkansas. She was on our first 3 years on staff here. She's the head coach there. And I don't think we got their best version our first time out. And so we expect that to be a battle. They're a team that is just really gritty. They are very much like the personality of Jordan. Their offense just puts the ball in play a lot. They have a really good balance of offense, and then they have pitchers that do a great job. We got Schlotterbeck when we were there, who's pitching really well for them. And we just didn't get her best version. So I'm not sure who they'll throw at us. We only do play them one time. Now our original schedule had them on there for twice, but we only play them once here when they added us to their tournament. And then SEMO is always good. Mark does a really good job. And they're putting up a lot of runs. So we have, it's a big challenge in front of us.
And then last thing I'll ask, because I'm sure that the start to the season just wasn't what Reese envisioned for herself, but this past weekend, I mean, she was just really solid for y'all. What do you think that does for her, moving forward to now have, some outings that I'm sure she feels a lot better about?
Well, I think of late we've seen who Reese is. I don't think I don't think she was not necessarily not just pitching the way she was. She just wasn't Reese those first couple outings. And so she's worked her tail off. And more than anything, she just hasn't pressed and she just kind of let the game come back to her. She's worked on what she can control. And this past weekend is definitely more of who Reese is. So I'm just proud of her for staying the course and just continuing to work and let it come back. Dudley?
I guess you talked the first year about finding different roles for the different pitchers. How's that kind of working out? And it looks like you've got several different starters, but you use them, at any time during the game.
Yeah, I think that each weekend we're getting a little bit more comfortable and more settled into those roles. I think that we've worked really hard for our pitchers to be comfortable in any role that we give them for the day, knowing that they complement the rest of the staff really well, and just knowing that we're going to be at our best when we mix and match, and they've really embraced that. So I think it's more so just us as a staff getting more comfortable each weekend, how to best utilize them, and I think we're each weekend we've gotten better with that, and we'll continue to just improve and grow in that area.
Also, Hannah is one of the most popular girls on the team, obviously. And when she does well, when she hits the ball, it seems to be infectious. Talk about that a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you're around Hannah, you know that she wears her heart on her sleeve. And I just think she's everyone's biggest fan. She knows, like, everybody knows how much she cares and supports and loves them. And I think that when she hits, I think it's infectious. When she's not, I think she supports everybody. And so I just think more so offense as a whole is pretty contagious. I don't know that it's necessarily affected by Hannah per se, but I do think that just that, fun-loving, passionate vibe, that's definitely fed by Hannah on the daily.
And one last question. Talk to me a little bit about when you first arrived about the crowds you were getting as opposed to the crowds you're getting now.
Well, it's a night and day difference. And we knew when we got here that the fans were here if we could just win them over. We even made the choice in the first couple years to not charge, go away from charging to hopefully see if they would just take a chance on us if they didn't have to make a financial investment. And as our team's gotten better, as they've started to show up, and support us more and more. Now we're selling out season tickets, we're selling out crowds. And I think it's pretty exciting when you're in the secondary market and people are trying to get tickets that way, especially when we get to the postseason. So our fans have been tremendous. The fact that they're showing up in these non-conference weekends in February is huge. Usually it's, a little later when it's warmer weather and we're in the SEC season. I think the weather has helped, but the fact that they're showing up this early and this large, it's just really exciting for these players. They deserve that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel?
Hey, Coach, you mentioned Clark earlier. Just when a coach comes back like that, what's that like for you personally?
Well, it's exciting. It's fun to, I think the world of Jordan. I think that when she worked with us the first 3 years, it was her first dose of college coaching, and you could see right away that she had something really special about the way that she coached, the way she motivated, the way the players responded to her. So you just knew that she was made for this. And so to see her come into her own and lead her program at FAU, it's really fun. It's like a proud moment of knowing that she kind of came from our tree here and to see what she does there. And when she comes into town, obviously being an Arkansas native, she's kind of showing her players where she's from. But you, as an opponent, know you're going to get a very well coached, very passionate, very fiery team just like her. And so it's fun. You're going to have a challenge, but it's fun when you get to play good people and know they're going to do it the right way. And so it's fun to see her do her thing.
And then for Robin, her last appearance, I guess statistically, literally couldn't have gone any better. How have you coached players in the past of when they're coming off such a high like that to kind of keep things going?
Well, I think for Robin, she's had a lot of great outings for us. And so when there's not as much necessarily coaching out of the backside of this of her. It's like, perfect games don't happen. I would say perfect games don't happen that much, yet there were 3 in the SEC this weekend. So maybe they happen a little bit more. I don't know. It was more so just her staying in the moment in the game. When you're sitting at 7, even in the 4th inning and you're 1 run away, but we don't get it. It's just staying in the moment, not pushing, not guiding her pitches, just trusting her pitches. And I think she's done that throughout the year. I think we've seen that consistently from Robin. So it's not necessarily of anything coming out of this weekend, expecting her to do it again. No, we're just expecting her to be in the moment and trust her pitches and give us a chance to win.
Thanks, Coach. All the best.
Thank you.
Jacob?
Hey,
Or
Coach.
there you go.
Hey, Coach. Just wanted to ask in general about expectations. I know obviously you guys are far from a finished product. Just a couple of weekends into the season, what are you hoping to see this weekend and, to continue to improve on what you guys have done so far?
Well, I think the only thing that we continue to expect daily from our players is just a consistent competitive focus and energy. And I think that they've they've done better at that each weekend. We aren't searching for an outcome. Our expectations aren't in an outcome. We're in just how we want it to look, how we want them to compete, what that looks like, how we want them to respond, knowing it's not going to be perfect. And so I think it's still continuing to build off that. I think we've gotten better with that each weekend. And so continuing to build off that is what the expectation is. And we've seen that in practice all week.
Gotcha. Thanks, Coach.
Mm-hmm.
Meredith? Eric?
Coach, how many tickets do you allow Jordan to get for this weekend, first of all?
Just her pass list. That's it. So
Very
maybe
good.
maybe 4. No, just kidding.
Very good. You mentioned you felt you didn't get their best. How are they different today? I know they beat Michigan and Louisville since you saw them. Do you study more of what they've done recently versus what you knew the opening week?
No, to be quite honest, I think who we've seen them be outside of our game is who they are. They're just, I mean, they pitch it really well. They put a lot of pressure on defenses. I think we got nerves in our game, to where I think we scored 5 in the first inning, and I think it was a product of nerves more than anything. And so I think we look more at our game as the outlier. And so we expect what we expected prior to that game, that they've just continued to get stronger from that. So we look at our game as the outlier, and we're expecting a better game this weekend.
You scored 32 runs after the setback against Wichita State, which they had a great pitching performance in that game. What was that something you like to see there from your offense, to how you responded right away after that setback? Did you make any adjustments, or was it just one of those things where it was responded after that game?
Well, yeah, we made a lot of adjustments. Got in the cages, really worked, got with video, just so we knew what it looked like, and they could see that, and knowing what they needed to do. I don't think the runs were necessarily what we just wanted. Better at bats. We wanted more competitive at bats. We wanted to control our zones better. We wanted to get our swings off. We just didn't feel like we did that on Friday night versus Wichita, but great pitchers do that to you also. So sometimes it's just like tipping your cap and just figuring out how we can be better. Because I do think she's someone that we'll face later in the year, and we'll face pitchers like her. But just kind of knowing how we could control our at-bats better, how we can control our emotions better, and just have more of a competitive presence.
Take me through the process of doing a tournament, and getting the teams in, because this is your second. You got another big tournament next week, but the process of bringing teams in to come here, making sure that everybody kind of is pleased with they get what they want out of the tournament and all that, as far as being a host in it.
Well,
Cue Matt.
I know, I'm like, Q and Matt Michael, can we call him in? He does the tournaments. So he hand selects. He has, he's the master of spreadsheets. And so he's constantly working on who the best teams to play are, the ones that are going to challenge us, the ones that are going to add great value to our schedule. And then it's a lot. It takes a village, Eric. There's a lot of hands on deck. I mean, Grace is sleep deprived from last weekend, although she's so cheery and sunny, you can hear it in her voice. It's long weekends for everyone. It's long weekends for Austin, our grounds crew. It's Grace, it's marketing, it's game ops, it's all of it. Andrew, our athletic trainer, who's exceptional, and his crew. And so I think the big thing is they know that it's great for us to have the ability to be home. And when we can, host a tournament and put on a great tournament, it makes teams want to come back, but it helps us in the big picture. And that's really why everyone is here, is to just do what's best for these players and give them the best opportunities, and being able to stay home for 3 weekends is huge for the big picture. So it takes a village. It starts with Matt Michael. And so maybe I should say that too. When everyone's mad that we're having all these home tournaments, take it up with Matt. Just kidding.
Very good. Last question for me is, the pitching staff, as it evolves and it's growing, how close do you think you are where you want to be with this pitching staff right now?
I think we're getting there. I think we're getting there. I think that although they haven't surprised me, I think they've surprised a lot of naysayers of just kind of questioning what our staff was going to do, if that was going to be like our Achilles heel, I guess, per se. And I think that they've competed their butts off. They've handled the roles. I think that, yeah, there's still a lot left out there for us. I still think our best is ahead of us. We're still going to get really challenged, but right now, all we've asked them to do is just embrace their role and give us a chance to win. And they have done that every time they've taken the field. And so I'm just really proud of them, how they've competed, but how they've worked in the off season, not just physically, but mentally. And so I know we're going to have some tough stretches. That's what the team is all about. But right now they're giving us a chance to win while we settle in everywhere else.
Justin?
If you look at offensive numbers from this time this year and this time a year ago, straight numbers, there are some pretty similar numbers in doubles and home runs and runs scored, things like that, pretty similar, but it looks like a completely different offense at the same time. What do you feel like 3 weeks in have been the biggest, I don't want to say changes necessarily, but the things that maybe you look at for that offense that maybe when I see it looks like a different offense, that to you, maybe this is why you're seeing it look so differently?
Well, why don't you tell me why you feel like it looks different?
I'm watching Eric Lopez at the top laughing when you said that.
I haven't looked at the numbers last year versus this year. So why does it feel so different to you, Justin?
Well, that's what I was hoping you'd tell me, because I'm not 100% sure. It just feels very different. Like literally, when I looked, your doubles numbers, your home run numbers are within 2 or 3 at the exact same time last year. But just when I watch you play, I don't feel like it looks the same as it did a year ago. I don't know if that's an approach. Like, that's why I was curious if there's something that you would attribute that to.
Yeah, I don't know what our numbers are. I haven't looked at last year's compared to this year's. I'm just looking right now at, how do we beat South Dakota State tomorrow? So if our home runs are similar, our doubles are similar, I don't know what our runs are. Are runs similar? I don't know. We're trying to produce a lot of runs. And I think the big thing is that, you could see in the inning the other day, the 13-run inning against Wichita State, we didn't have a home run. It was a lot of, just, taking your hit. It was a lot. I think you're going to see a lot more tools. I think we're putting the offense in motion. We have, squeezes, we're bunting, we're hit and running. We're having just a lot more tools to kind of, when maybe it doesn't feel like it's firing as much, we have more to go to than just swinging big. And so I don't know what the numbers are. To be really honest, I don't know. But I also don't think that we've necessarily fired as an offense yet. We're finding ways to score runs. And so that's, the biggest thing is when you're not playing your best, when you're not feeling your best, still finding a way to get the job done. More often than not, obviously we're not perfect, but to me, that's a sign of a complete offense.
I want to ask you about Kennedy Miller too. Coming in, I think everybody hears a Bree Ellis or a Rylan Hedgecock in the lineup, and those are the names we all know. But Miller right now has looked really good at the plate. She's looked pretty good for you. What have you seen in her development?
Well, she's a sponge, and so she just wants to be as good as she possibly can be, and wants to learn and wants to get better, and doesn't take anything personally, which I think is just makes her way more mature than just kind of a freshman, of just wanting to get better and whatever it takes to do that. I've seen moments not get too big for her. I've seen, early it was who's going to handle, as a freshman catcher, who's going to handle not having everyday starts and being able to settle in. And she's just made the most of the moment. And how she's made the most of the moment is that she's settled in and just trusted herself and not made any moment too big, made really quick adjustments offensively, settled in behind the plate to work with a lot of different pitchers in a lot of different situations. And so I think that I'm just really pleased with maybe a little bit more of her mentality, even more so than her physicality. And so I think, that's where we've seen her continue to climb up in the lineup, is just having really good looks in the box and putting really good swings on pitches.
And then last one for me, we've kind of seen what I describe maybe as Robin Herron's coming out party the last few weeks. I mean, the perfect game, even controlling that Arizona offense. But with that, and with Robin Herron becoming a more well-known name on the national scene, there's that possibility of more attention. There's the possibility of feeling more pressure from the outside, things like that come with, doing what she's doing so far. Is that something you talk about so that when that time comes, if that time comes, it's something that she can handle? Is that something that just the way she's wired, she can handle on her own? I'm curious
Well,
about that
maybe
side of
I
things.
should start talking about it more since you guys keep asking me about it. Um, no, I mean, I think that when we sat down in the fall and looked at, what she's done, what we need to do, and what's out there for the taking, we've challenged her. It's like, you have the stuff to be an ace. This is what we need to do to get there. And she has answered every challenge that I've thrown at her. And she's done that by just trusting her stuff and staying really consistent to her process. And so are we going to get hung up in some of those things? Maybe we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But I think right now what she's done so well is she's just showed up and worked every day. She showed up and worked, and she looks at what she's done, how to get better. And I think the big thing for her is that she's given herself some grace in this crazy offensive game of just kind of knowing, hey, once I let go of the ball, I have no control over it, and then I'm just going to figure out how to make it better. And I think that there's a lot to be said for a balance like that with a pitcher in an offensive game. And so I don't know. We'll probably have a little bit of those hiccups as we move forward. But we haven't yet. And I just think she's handled everything so well. And I think it's because she's put all the work in before. It's not like we're going to hit that and then all of a sudden she's going to have to hurry to work. She's been putting the work in, so she has the tools when she gets in those rough spots physically or mentally.
Do we have any final questions for Coach T? Going once, going twice.
Thank
Alright.
you.
Thanks, guys.